Morning, y'all. Sorry for the lack of music. Leslie is out today or this week, and so is Sarah. They're both on vacation. So you got me this week. So I'm just gonna continue with the kind of the same thing Sarah does every week. We're just gonna continue where she left off with when with sellers today. So let me pull that up. But I know it is a ugly rainy day, so thank you for being here today. Um, Hold on one second. Also, with them being out, I'm here, Nikki, Kirsten. So if you need anything, um, Leslie is out for the week. So call one of us and we got you. All right, let's see. Let me pull up where Sarah kind of left off here. Happy Father's Day to everybody who is on the call who I didn't get to talk to yesterday. All right. So this is where we left off. Um, so last week we talked a little bit about um, lead conversion. And then today we're going to go through pre-qualifying listing lead. So, hold on one second. Sorry, somebody's saying something in the chat. Nope, it was an AI bot. All right. So this talks a little bit about just how to pre-qualify the lead, right? So most of the leads that are deserving of FaceTime, it says, are ready, willing, and able. How many people have, I know it's early morning, so you may not raise your hands, but um, most agents, especially when you first start off, right, you're going to go to anything and everything that's available. However, I want you to think about your time, right, and how precious it is. We only have so much of it, right? So, running a business means controlling your time, controlling what you do every day, and really just getting in front of it and making sure that when you are pre-qualifying someone, that they are all three of these things, right? So, like it says right here, if you're doing tons of deals a year, you can't follow every lead, like chase every lead, right? So, um, your definition of time will include the length of time that it suits, and you're doing the amount of activity you're doing in the market. So, obviously, if you have more time, you may go to someone who is ready and willing but not able and just have that meeting with them, right? But so having two is fine, but without all three, there's really no way for you to help them, right? So the way, really, how you're going to pre-qualify them is figure out if they have all three. And if they do, then they're ready, willing, and able, and you can help them. If not, then this is just talking about how to go through those things and help them, right? So you may not go to a listing appointment for every single person. That may be something you pre-qualify over the phone or on a Zoom call. So I want you to use your time wisely, and not always run to having an hour-long meeting, going out of your way to travel, those types of things. You're the professional in this, right? And when you act like it, people respect it. So that's what I kind of want you to get away from this. So avoiding pitfalls, not gauging a client's ability, readiness, and willingness correctly, and also high motivation, like an unchangeable move date, trump other factors. So, um, honestly, guys, this is the same as when we did win with buyers, right? So, ready, willing, and able lead is always, always, always what you want, no matter if it's a buyer, a seller, an investor. Um, so, even I know a lot of us, especially when you're new, you get investor calls and we still run and go help them, right? I know I used to try my best to help them, even if it was for barely anything. Um, and most of them are able and willing, but maybe they're not realistic, right, in what they're going to get. Um, so they may even be ready, willing, and able, but if you don't educate them and pre-qualify them on the market and what their expectations are, then you don't know if you're wasting all your time, right? So make sure that you're putting your time into the most dollar producing activities. But, anyways, all of that being said, with sellers, it's all about defining their motivation. So they're either A, B, or C leads. And this is how you can separate them in your database, guys. So I know we talk a lot about database, but that's because that is your business, right? So um, one day, the whole point of this whole thing, right? I mean, I always have this on hand when I'm talking to people. The whole point of all of this is to have a business that is sustainable and it runs like a business so that one day you can sell it. So there's actually a book if anyone's interested in it. And some may know it's called The Golden Handoff. Um, and that is why the database is so important because your business is your database. How often you communicate with them, how well you organize them, how you tag them, so that one day, that is the only way the agents can retire and sell their businesses, right? Is if you have a database that you've been communicating with and somebody can say, like, oh, okay, I can see that this business can continue without Linda, right? Um, so, anyways, this is one way, and this is probably the best way, as long as you can keep up with it, to organize these people in your database and in your pipeline so that you don't drop the ball on anybody. And they get serviced on a regular basis. So, A is a ready, willing, and able buyer, right? So, someone who is ready to do business in 0 to 14 days, that would mean you have a daily action plan to secure an appointment, daily follow up plan, right? So, let's say I vet somebody over the phone. I'm going to talk to them about two things. And I'm sure I've said this before, but I uh, sometimes have to remember it is there are two things that you must know about every lead, whether it's a buyer or a seller. Why and when, right? Why is their motivation? Do they have a strong motivation? In a market like this, that is the biggest question for a seller. Now, if they have a set date of like, hey, I'm moving because of a job or whatever, there's a reason for their timing. That's a good A lead, right? That's someone that is going to be reasonable if you teach them how the market is working right now, right? Think about um, how long things are sitting, how prepare them ahead of time for how much closing costs is like people are contributing right now, right? So on Thursday, I'm actually going to go through how to find those things in the MLS because I think I'm not sure if everyone knows how to find those things, the average concessions and things like that that sellers are giving. I like to give those to my sellers up front when I'm having consultations so that I can really gauge their ready, willing, and ableness, right? Because if I tell them all these things and they say, ugh, never mind, that's okay. I'm not going to waste my money on marketing. I'm not going to waste my time and energy feeling guilty that I've put it on the market and it's not selling. If they listen to me, it will sell, right? So, but they have to be prepared to know we have to put it on at this price, be prepared to pay concessions, be prepared for it to take a little bit longer than normal. And then depending on their timeline, what does that look like? And honestly, guys, even if their timeline is a little bit further out and they think, oh, okay, well, that means I can price it higher so that I can maybe get an offer, that's just the detriment of everybody in this market. So tell them, let's wait then to even list it and let's price it correctly. But, anyways, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about A, B, or C leads. So A, B, and C leads with the seller. So if that's a right now they need to list, you're got an A lead, and that's how you can tag them in your database, right? Go ahead and put them, if you're using command, that means go ahead and open up an opportunity, right? So that it's in front of you at all times. And that pipeline of your opportunity is an electronic pipeline. That's how I use it so that I can see, like, in my little bubbles of my pipeline, who I actually have that I don't want to drop the ball on that are actually an A, B, or C lead, right? Um, a B lead are ready, willing, and able to do business in the next 15 to 60 days. So you put them in your database. This is a system, right, of how you communicate with these people. You communicate with them every 2 to 3 days or at least once a week, right? So if they're um, really within 2 months out, that's a weekly follow up of finding, of sending them data. So this is for listings, right? You're going to be sending them data, talking to them about what's going on. Honestly, what I do is set myself up on a search if I'm helping someone with a listing that's a little bit further out. I'm going to set myself up on a search for their neighborhood, right? So that as they're prepping and we're not on the market yet, I can say, hey, this is our competition. Something just came up in your neighborhood and this is what they listed at. That way they're just aware of things are changing even from the day I met them for those 60 days that they're preparing their home. I want them to know that I'm trying to keep up with what the market is doing because it's changing so quickly. And I want to keep them informed so that when I come back to them in 60 days, they're not like surprised by the update, right? And then a C lead is ready, willing, and able to do business in 61 days or more. So you put them in your database and call them monthly. So these action plans are exactly the system that you can put into your seller SOPs, right? So your operating procedures, how are you going to communicate with these people? And then just put it on your calendar, right? So even if it looks like, hey, Joe Green is listing in 90 days, put it in your calendar for once a month, a call, and on whatever time and day you said you're going to call them. Um, and literally put that person's name, phone number, email in your calendar and set a task and command. So I will say, I'm just super transparently, I put it on my calendar or set a task in my phone that's gonna, like a reminder, that's gonna be an alarm. Because I don't want to drop the ball on anybody. So tasks in command are great if you look at them. And I'm super transparently an agent that does not. I should look at my tasks and I don't. So that's just my workaround is if I tell a client I'm going to call them on a certain day and time, I put it on a reminder in my phone with an alarm to go off so that I call them. Um, so that I don't ever drop the ball on them. Now I still put a note in command and make sure that I keep up with everything in there so that my database is clean. But I know myself well enough to know I might not look at my tasks every single morning like I should. Um, and then the do's and don'ts of lead generation. So I'll kind of wrap it up here, but um, practice highly productive lead generation. So this is what high production listing agents do, right? Prospect and generate leads that meet their definition of a lead. So I want you guys to think about what is your definition of a lead. My definition of a true lead that goes in the pipeline, this I kind of got this from a maps coach, but it just made a very clear cut way for me to know who is a true lead that goes in my pipeline. Um, is someone who has a why, right? Has actual reason why they want to do something, and they have a timeline. They don't have a why and a when, they're not a lead. They're a someday that I put in my database and they're on a DTD2 because maybe it's 2 years out or maybe it's a if they ever found the right thing kind of a thing. So I'll call them quarterly and see where they're at. And if I call them in a quarter or two and now they have a why and a when, now they move into my pipeline, right? So they have to have a why and a when. And the only way they're in my pipeline is if they are actually, I can't count on them for my goals if it's not within the next 12 months, right? So if it's further out, again, DTD2, they may have a when and a why, but it may be like, oh, my kids are going, when they go to college, I'm going to downsize and that's in 2 years. That doesn't count. When you're looking at your goals, I want you to think about filling your pipeline and physically actually having some kind of sheet with all the months of the year, right? For the next 12 months. So you could, if you started today, it'd be June to June. And then literally fill that pipeline up, meaning, okay, this person is their when is December. So I'm going to write December. I'm going to, on my pipeline, write their name. They're a December closing. Okay. And then, oh, they said next spring. That's a February closing because of the date. Whatever that looks like, put them in February. And that way you can physically see on a calendar when you have people plugged into months so that you're not on a roller coaster, right? That's where the real estate roller coaster comes in, is when you don't know when you're going to have closings, right? So even if they're on the pipeline and they move, physically move them and say, okay, well, the one I was counting on in August, they've moved to November, right? So that way you can really, that's the only way to have a predictable business. So anyways, you want to have right here is a great way to service A, B, and C leads. But then, of course, having the database and feeding it regularly, having a 36 touch plan, which we will go over another day. I know, I'm sure we've talked about it, but I want to teach you guys a good system there's already some built out inside of Command, inside of Smart Plans. But personalizing those so that they feel like you're okay with implementing those onto your database. I know if you're anything like me, because most agents are, I'm like, I don't want to put a generic campaign on my people, right? So how can we I might actually do that tomorrow instead. How can we use AI to build out a campaign that's special to us? and a 36 touch plan so that we can implement that without feeling like it's generic and our people will be like turned off by it. Um, and then it says high production listing agents don't solely rely on the internet to feed them leads. Change their methods of lead generation randomly. Wait for the number of leads they need to hit their goals or skip follow up. So follow up, follow up, follow up. That was a lot for this morning. I know we need to wrap it up. But I think the biggest one for the on if I was coaching you, the biggest one of this is going to be do not change your lead generations randomly. It all compounds on each other, right? So pick your 3 to 4 inside of your MREA. I actually have it again here. Um, there's a page, I think it's 130. Why do I know it by heart? I don't know. But yep, 138. Um, this has all of your ways to prospect. Now, it's not every way, but there's a lot of ways, right? Pick 3 and stick with it. What 3 do you love? What 3 does it not feel like you're pulling teeth when you do it? And then do it long term. Have a plan to do that. Don't deviate from it. If you're new and you feel like you're spinning your wheels, you probably haven't given your source enough time. So, anyways, there is that. I think the homework for the day is go into your database and actually set up A seller smart plan, B seller smart plan, C seller smart plan, and put these activities into place so that when you do have a seller, and you can tag them A, B, and C, and then throw them on a smart plan so that you're not having to figure it out when you get the lead. Let's already be prepared for that. So, all right, guys, it is Monday morning. I know it's rainy. You know what's the perfect day for rain for the perfect day for lead generation and calling people is when it's rainy because I promise you they are just it just makes them in the mood to have a conversation. So, a rainy day when people may not be going out as much is a great day to call people. That's always when I can catch people the most. So, y'all have a good day. I am here if you need anything. Come around the office. I'm gonna be lonely in here because Leslie's not here. So I will see you guys Wednesday for Deals and Donuts here at Ridge Lake. And then, of course, for team meeting tomorrow and Top Producer Talk is on Wednesday. So I'll see you then. Bye, guys. Maybe can't hit the end button. There we go. Bye.